Hello everyone and welcome to Sinful Gaming. I hope you're all doing well, I hope you're all staying safe, and most of all, I hope you're all fighting that war against the grey. Today's video we're going to talk start collecting Warhammer 40,000 boarding actions, and today we're going to take a look at the Death Guard. Now in this video we're going to go through mustering a boarding patrol, forming boarding squads, and the rules adaptations for this particular game mode that the Death Guard have, and then we'll take a look at a couple of units we recommend to get started with for the faction. We'll then look at some other units to expand upon those first couple of initial purchases, and finally finish off the video with a little sample army list of 500 points, the standard size game for a boarding action game in Warhammer 40,000 10th edition, for you to use hopefully as some inspiration for starting your own Death Guard force for some boarding action fun in Warhammer 40k. And so, to begin with, mustering a boarding patrol, you can include up to one of the following units, which can be a Chaos Lord, Lord of Contagion, Lord of Virulence, Malignant Plaguecaster, Sorcerer, or Typhus. What's really cool with the Death Guard, though, is they have a bunch of secondary characters, and you can also include up to one of such following units in the Biogless Putrefier, the Death Guard Icon Bearer, Foul Blightspawn, Noxious Blightbringer, Plague Surgeon, and the Tallyman. You can then include up to 3 of each of the following units in Cultists, Plague Marines, and Poxwalkers, though the combined total number of the Cultists and Poxwalker units in your force can never be more than twice the number of Plague Marine units. You can also include up to 1 of each of the following units in Blightlord Terminators, Chaosspawn, and Deathshroud Terminators as well. Now, when forming your boarding squads, you can make sure you don't split the following squads of Cultists and Poxwalkers during the boarding squad step. Now, rules adaptation wise, the Biogless Putrefier loses the Explosive Maladies, Chaos Lord loses the Desiccation Conduit ability, the Deathshroud Terminators will lose their Silent Bodyguard ability, Plague Surgeon will lose the Tainted Narthecium, this is his one to bring a model back, but not his one to heal characters, the Tallyman model can lose the Sevenfold Chant, and the Typhus model will lose the Eater Plague ability as well. Today's video is brought to you by Gap Games, a fantastic retailer in Australia for a variety of different miniature war games. If you'd like to help support the channel, we have an affiliate link where by clicking on and purchasing, you'll help support the channel, but you'll also help support Gap Games, which is a fantastic servant to the community. And so, where to begin with for the force? The first place we're going to look is at the Lord of Contagion. I think he is a really solid character to take in the box set, and the box that you pick up also actually gives you a couple of extra Blightlord Terminators, which we'll talk about in just a sec. This opens up a couple of extra options, and indeed some really cool models to take inside your unit as well. Now, the Lord of Contagion has toughness 6 with 6 wounds. He's pretty survivable, especially with that 2+ save, and an invulnerable save of 4+. He is all melee all the time though, and he has a really fun weapon, which is the Plague Blade, which has both strike and sweep weapon profiles, meaning he's good against both the tougher opponents, with his damage 3 actually at AP -2, meaning he can take on even those more sort of more wounds and tougher models in the Space Marine Force, especially with strength of 8. Lethal hits there as well. But he's got that sweet profile as well, which is strength 5, loses the AP though, and goes down to damage 1, but does double his attacks up to 10. Now, joining him obviously is some Plague Marines. Any decent Death Guard force has a bunch of Plague Marines at its core. Plague Marines have a variety of different options available to them in both ranged and melee. I think a couple of my favourite ones in this are the Plague Belcher with its anti-infantry 4+ rule and ignores cover and torrents, and the Plague Spewer as well with anti-infantry 2+ as well is another really nice weapon to take in your force. Now, we then have some abilities with them with Remorseless, where while the students within range of an objective, each time you take a Battleshock test, they get to add 1 to such a test, which is really cool. Now, looking at where to go next, I did talk a little bit about Blightlord Terminators. We get some in that initial box set with the Lord of Contagion, but picking up an actual unit of Blightlord Terminators could be a really fun option. They have some really fun ranged weapons to use in the form of the Plague Spear, an anti-infantry 2+ weapon. Reaper autocannons are also really nice in close confined spaces with devastating wounds and sustained hits 1 at a strength of 7. Now, you've got a couple of different melee weapon options. The Flare of Corruption is really nice at 6 attacks with lethal hits, 3+ to hit, strength 5, -1 AP, damage 2. They've got a couple of abilities, so each time a model in this unit makes a ranged attack, if the target closest model is in an eligible unit, you can reroll the wound roll of 1. Now we then have the Death Shroud Terminators as well. Death Shroud Terminators are a dedicated combat unit, really. What they are going to provide you with, though, is, some really heavy combat punch. They're not going to have any shooting, and they do lose their bodyguard ability in the boarding patrol force. But that melee weapon, the Man Reaper, has the strike and sweep weapon profile. They are only 3 model units, but lethal hits, they can be quite a deadly force to take on the table. We then have Poxwalkers as well. These are a really fun unit to definitely give you some numbers. Plague Marines and indeed Death Guard in general can be quite expensive. So having access to a unit that can provide you with some really serious bodies on the table. 60 points grabs you 10 models that don't split into boarding parties, so you're going to get to fight with all 10 at all times. Is really nice. Then you have some abilities where Curse of the Walking Pox. Each time a model in this unit makes an attack that destroys an enemy model, you can return 1 Poxwalker to the unit as you just sort of increase your numbers, which is really cool. So they can be quite a fun unit to bring to the table and really have that nice thematic rule. I love playing with units that replenish themselves with these type of rules. Super fun. Lastly, we have the Plague Surgeon. I think he's a really interesting pick. First of all, he is really cheap at 65 points. Yes, he does lose his ability to bring models back in other units, but I think the ability to potentially keep your Lord of Contagion nice and healed up is a really good reason to bring him along. Not only that, but his melee weapon, the Bale Sword, is 4 attacks at 3+ to hit, strength 5, -2 AP, damage 2 with lethal hits. It's not that terrible in all things. And so here we have our sample army list for the Death Guard in a boarding patrol. Now we've gone with the Lord of Contagion here in our force, who is going to be leading us. And then we've gone for giving him the Poisonous Influence enhancement. Now what this one does, it gives him an aura where while a friendly Nurgle unit is within 6 inches of the bearer, each time a model in that unit makes a ranged attack, you can improve the armor penetration characteristic of that attack by 1. This is particularly nice on those anti-infantry weapons we have, allowing us to just get through that few extra more wounds. We then have the Plague Surgeon as a secondary character, another piece on the table just allowing us to move. And then we have Battle Line. We've got 5 Plague Marines in there with a Plague Champion with Plasma Pistol and Heavy Plague Weapon, a Plague Marine with Plague Spear, 1 Plague Marine with Plague Belcher, and then we have a couple of close combat weapon operatives as well, and a Plague Marine with Bubotic Weapon, a Plague Marine with Heavy Plague Weapon as well. We then have a Blightlord Terminator squad with the Blightlord Champion with combi weapons. Combi weapons are really interesting. I definitely think, they've maybe lost a bit of utility in the normal game, but with their ability to be anti-infantry, I really do think in your boarding actions they have a place to be within your force. We then have a Blightlord Terminator with Reaper Autocannon, that high strength but also sustained hits with a decent amount of shots is really fun. A Plague Spear in there for anti-infantry 2+, and then the Flail of Corruption on a Blightlord Terminator, and the last Blightlord Terminator just rocking a combi weapon. Rounding out the force, we have a unit of 10 Poxwalkers as well, giving us a perfect 500 points for the Death Guard. If you've got some ideas on how you would start your Death Guard force, or indeed what you would do with the Death Guard to get them ready, or indeed expand upon this force and give us some other options, let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And so, thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel for more content, and also drop a comment down below letting us know what you thought about the video. If you'd like to come chat more with me and other members of our fun little community, we have a Discord server which is linked down in the video's description, and also linked down in the video's description are the best ways to help support the channel, either by Patreon or YouTube members, or by grabbing yourself some merch from our Teespring store as well. All of those are linked down in the video's description, and a special thank you to our YouTube members and patrons. We'd like to give you all a shout out, so thank you to our YouTube members John Castle, Disco, James Tillman, Monty's Tabletop Terrain, Ariana Edwards, Broken Chef, the Johnny84, Lock Lorick, Ronya, Green Roots Gaming, and our patrons Wasarin, Kenny Lyle, Outer and Shot First, Andrew Bowen, Cure Dynamic, JJ Austrian, Average Wargamer, Domir, Mark Harvey, James Cater, Benjamin Swallows, Red Martin, Iron Grinch, Colorblind Magic, Grimscold, and Andy C. Thank you all once again, everyone. Stay safe, stay well, and most of all, keep fighting that war against the grey. Ciao for now.